this idea that AI is perverse and that it will sort of
Doobie
overshadow
doo.
the human soul in some way, in some creative expression. And although that yes, if you let it, but it's nice to hear that there are good sides to it. And I think every
Oh, jeez. Are you serious? Get over yourself. Yak tube. Come on, dude. Dude. I don't think it's going to let me do this. It should. It may. We're going to keep going. You know what? It's not going to let me. Oh, poop. A doop doop.
has their own relationship with AI at this point. But I guess we're all just trying to figure out what's a healthy
There we go.
amount.
We're good. Holy crap.
It can veer pretty quickly.
It really depends, I think, on how you've been trained. Like, I've been trained to be an independent thinker my whole life, even my family. And then in school, and then, the program, even though there's all sorts of downsides.
Ah, good morning. Boom. Oh, the sun is coming up.
And so, when I'm talking to AI about some research I do,
Good morning.
I don't see it as an
Okay.
It's like a thinking partner.
Let's go do some
And when you
work.
think of this, and then it says
Let's go
something,
get some work
but
done.
Like, that's actually just the way. Like, you haven't thought of this or this, and it's lazy. So to say, oh yeah, you're right. Da, da, da. Yeah, you're totally right. But I worry more about people who haven't been trained to think. So I think AI.
There we go. Turn the lantern on so I can see what the hell I'm looking at down here. Love the mist coming up off the ground. The clouds look a little cloudier this morning than what they normally do. Okay. The Ella house.
It's very helpful. But early
Okay.
it's a disaster to replace.
Where is this one going?
People with AI because then who's going to learn?
Ella Farm Supply. Okay.
Yeah, you're externalizing memory, you're externalizing experience into this digital thing.
The Whittier House Track.
You touched on something right there,
Okay.
the talented program. I know that in your latest book you talk about that a little bit as well. I think SOAR, the program that you were
Hollifield Heating. Okay.
Yeah.
Bryson.
Yeah, I could research. SOAR sounds so lovely.
Bryson. Okay.
And the title was SOARgate, which I thought was interesting, right?
Yeah, well, Gate because
Play
of
on
the-
Stargate.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Gate program.
And Gate program. Yeah.
So could you fill us in
We'll
a little
get
bit
this
on
out of
this?
here.
I encourage anybody to
Ella,
check
Ella,
out all the
Ella
books that you've done,
Farm
but
Supply.
could you maybe fill us in a little bit
Ella,
about
Ella,
what that
Ella,
was?
Ella Farm
Coming up,
Supply.
Obviously thinking it's a little bit strange, the tests that they're doing, the cognitive tests and everything else, but also your research into it afterwards as an adult
Come
came up
on.
a little strange as well.
Come
Walk
on.
us through that.
Sure. I started writing the book. I didn't know I was writing a book. And I'm like, I guess I'm writing something. And I realized, maybe about halfway through the first part of the book, that it was about disclosing in yourself. And it was almost like a spiritual process, but also like a physical process,
Okay.
but also social process.
Handbrake. Train
By the time I
brake.
got done with that part of the book,
Independent
that I was writing
brake.
the book, I realized that process had worked on me.
Oh.
And I had to write about
Release it. There's the
internal
independent.
exposure of this thing. And you can hear me swallow and stuff because it's hard still, and I've talked about it several times publicly. But nonetheless, it's
That's weird.
hard
I
to
don't know what
sort
that
of
is.
recognize out loud that who you are as a person
Alright.
was sort of shaped on purpose, not just by your parents.
Where
and not just by
is
your
the
community,
bell control
but by something
in
that you didn't
this
even know was
locomotive?
having a shape who you are. And
That's
the part that I find difficult. And so
what I was tripping about.
I got interested as I was writing the book in my background in this gifted program called SOAR that I was in
SWAT.
officially in 7th grade.
I have a lamp in here. What?
So, like I have friends who I
Okay.
program,
Well,
and so I
I guess
for it and getting special privileges
there's
that
not.
the other students didn't get.
I mean, there is a bell. I can turn it on and off with the keyboard shortcuts.
Results.
Quit.
And then it
Alright,
really frustrated,
let's
and then
choose.
from then on out, it was just
There we go.
Um,
Alrighty.
So the longest time I kind of bought into the story of, I think this part is true, you know, I do. I come from a very an educated family with super intelligent minds, that's true. And I was very creative, that's true, still very creative. So like that's part of the story. That's like, okay, I could see that you might want to put me in a program where I would get more stimulation or something. The other part of the story is they were doing testing on us that was not about that. And that didn't seem to be for our benefit. And some of which had deliberate, as far as I can tell, deliberate memory in this. And this is common among people who will talk about the gifted and talented. I could retrace those almost to the point where I know the colors of the bricks on the wall to my left and the colors of the lockers on my right. But then I get to the hallway that has the room. I open the door. I remember that. And then it's the first one on the right, so I remember that. It's a small room like the size of a bathroom. It's very small. And there's, you know, covering on the window, so no one could see in. So that's a little creepy, but whatever. Maybe in a counseling session makes sense. I always remember dreading it.
Oh man.
As soon as I get in the room and I close the door, I remember nothing. Then I open the door and I leave and I'm just confused and I go back to class. And I remember not remembering. So whatever happened in that room, yeah. So that was the deepest part of this kernel was the acknowledgement that that wasn't about gifted and talented education. That, I don't know if it was a drug, a hypnosis.
Do you remember ingesting anything?
There was a pink drink that I have two memories of. One memory is that I spit it out because they told me it was fluoride and it was chalky and kind of viscous. And I thought, this A isn't fluoride and B, you shouldn't swallow fluoride. So why would you want me to swallow this? And then the other memory is of drinking it. But I actually had a dream last night about this, and so I'm still trying to figure out what that was. So let me just make the context a little bigger, then we'll come back to the dream. So the context includes also too much drink. So I've always had very sensitive hearing, like too much drink.
and I was with my, we lived on, I went to school on military bases my entire life, and I remember sitting there with my mom and teacher, and her explaining to my mom that I'm incredibly bored here, and I was like, I'd never vocalized that, so I don't know how she, said that, but she was like, he needs to, and I remember my mom turning to me and asking me, do you want to go ahead? And I said no, because I feared the social consequences. Hey, just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you so much for all the support that you've given to Area 52, whether that's purchasing a ticket to the live shows, whether that's liking this video, commenting on another video, sharing it with your friends, buying something from our shop, which, by the way, we got a sale going on, 25% off all hats if you're interested. But just a generalized thank you. This is not a sponsor. There's no sponsors for this video, but I did want to take some time to just thank you, the audience. Truly, truly, truly grateful for all of your support, and I won't take up any more of your time. Please enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Yeah, see, so I think they did it differently with boys and girls. So there were plenty of boys that were skipped ahead in my school, and I was jealous. They never asked me the question.
Weird.
I don't know if it's because they wanted to study me for longer,
Right.
which is what I suspect, or what. So like, turns out, so I'm starting to get this information, but what really makes me think that there's something going on, and I'll get back to the weird counseling sessions in a second. What really makes me think that there's something going on is I applied for a job in the federal government that requires a clearance. Your transcripts from your entire schooling history. So I take that very literally, and I go back to like first grade, kindergarten, the whole thing.
Wow.
And I write them a note and say, I need my transcripts. They were like, okay. So they went back to like my beach, and they get it, and they, digitize it and send it to me. And the comments area from first grade. So that's the thing. February, you sent us a resume, we think we'd like to talk to you about a particular job. And I said, oh, really interesting, that's cool. But 4 days before that, I had sent a FOIA request about my story to FOIA. I said, I really don't understand this program, this is the deal, can you just send me any information you have about this and if there's any relationship with, I had targeted the Air Force, because I thought maybe there was a relationship with the Air Force. It's called SOAR, I don't know. And so 4 days later, I get this, oh, we want to recruit you. And so we have a conversation, I go, this is interesting. And then, so they say, okay, you pass this interview, next thing is cognitive testing. We're going to do some background research on you, and then you'll, pass forward to the cognitive testing if that works. And so then, I think it's like a couple days later, I get an email from the FOIA people saying, would you like to drop your request? Because it might be hard for us to find out this information unless you exactly know what program it was. FOIA just doesn't act that quickly, right?
No. No. They're notoriously,
yeah.
they've So you think there's a direct relationship there, that direct correlation between dropping the FOIA request and getting
Past the next
getting
step.
past the next step?
Testing, which is exactly what I'm used to. I mean, like again and again and again.
So not a coincidence.
No, and well, I don't know. It could be a coincidence.
Yeah.
It just was a very interesting coincidence.
Sure.
So I started getting like, okay, maybe there's something going on, and that's when I started working on the book. So, or that's like then that seed was planted. But I also called my mom because I was like, I wonder what she remembers. And I just said, you know, Mom, what do you think about that SOAR program I was in? Dumb. That was the question.
Yeah.
She goes, well, they were studying you. And I'm like, did they tell you that? She goes, no, but they had to have been. She's like, you guys were smart, and you and your sister, and I'm confident they were studying you. And
Who's they?
I said,
Why?
who's they?
What are they studying?
I said, who's they? And she just goes, CIA. And I'm like, do you know that? She's like, no, but like that seems like the right people, right? And I'm like, well, everyone thinks it's the CIA. And it's
Sure.
someone's doing something nefarious, but maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
So back to going to that room. This experience, I finally decided I could do some regression. Who's not good at plant ideas in my mind, as I do hypnotic regression.
Mm-hmm.
And they went and did some research, and they came back and they said, this is a great person. So I contacted that person. Have I told you this story?
No.
How this is just so burned in my mind. I'm scared, you know. And I told my husband, I want you to be with me when we're doing this. Like, I'm scared, you know.
Yeah.
But it's the day before, and I get a text from her, and she says, I'm sorry, I have to cancel. I have an emergency dental surgery. And I'm like, oh, totally get it, you know. When would you like to reschedule? I can reschedule anytime you'd like to do regression. I don't do emergency dental surgery. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's great.
I know. And I was like, I looked at his phone, and I was like, showing his phone. He's like, either she was protecting me, or she was doing the really paranoid to say that he doesn't know whatever is that issue. SOAR program started, which is near the Savannah River nuclear facility. By the way, anyway, so I like near Augusta, Georgia. I had this dream that the male counselor was in my dream. I haven't seen him in a million years, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and he's wearing all black, and he's telling me, he's a white guy wearing all black, and he's telling me, this is it, you know, you're gonna I'm kind of like on his team, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I think I can do this, you know, like let's do it. Like there's some kind of challenge, and in the moment, in the dream, I don't have any history in my mind, right? But I apparently have some kind of subconscious history. Like I don't have any memory of what we're doing in the dream as that person in the dream, but I have some kind of subconscious memory of body. In my mind, or maybe in my body, both. Like I essentially levitate to the top of this tower that looks like the Stanford Bell Tower, and I look around out of the hole, a little porthole at the tower, and then I burst into the sea, right? And then that's when I realize I'm not, that's when I got and
Never during a waking state.
Not ever during a waking state, and almost like vehemently so.
Yeah.
Almost like I've got that lockdown.
Uh,
Like that's not gonna be on.
I have.
You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had it 2 years ago, or 2 years ago. I suppose it was 2 years ago now. Yeah, I had involuntarily 2 nights in a row. Woke up, hovering over my body. Like woke up, I was wide awake.
Were you at Monroe?
Nope, I was at home. And I'd never heard about this stuff before.
Oh, this is before you heard about it?
Yep. Yeah, it's maybe like
Can you tell me more about it? Like what state you were in?
I was in deep sleep and then had a nightmare and forced my eyes open in the nightmare to like wake up because I was conscious that it was a nightmare
Yeah.
and I had to wake up. So I
Yeah.
like forced my eyes open and I was in my room.
Yeah.
But everything was like I could see in the dark because I guess my eyes were used to it, so everything was like out of focus. Like it felt grainy,
Yeah.
low saturation, and felt this buzz, this incredible like deep like hum, like I was a tuning fork and someone just slapped me like it was like whoa, like this, and I was like it was almost euphoric, like a nice feeling. And I just felt like I could will myself up. I don't even know why I felt that, but I just felt, because I've flown in dreams before, and I
Right.
felt like, this is the same feeling, will myself up, and I did that. It scared me, and I started paddling down
Yeah.
back to my bed, and then sort of woke up again, I guess, and said, that was strange. It objectively didn't feel like a lucid dream. Like I woke up from a lucid dream into that, whatever that state was.
Right.
And then I said I want it to happen again. And I'd taken melatonin that night, which I don't usually take. And the next night, I was like, I want it to happen again, and it did. And this time, I was like, I'm not gonna be afraid. And I remember willing myself up, and this time turning around and seeing myself laying there, and the fear, like,
Came back.
oh, I was scared the second I was in that state. It's like you're, I always say it's like you're walking a tightrope. Instant manifestation. It feels if I think about something terrible, like that, and or good. So I just didn't want to think of anything. I'm like, just keep it one foot in front of the other type deal, and that happened. And I remember swimming back in my body, going lower than my body, feeling my body as I was falling through it.
Was your back facing your stomach or just up the
I had to turn around to see, and then I just kind of like, oh no, and then I was going a bit paddling backwards and coming back down, and then past the body. I remember feeling my body going through it, and like I go past it, and I'm like,
You're like out of
this
register.
is, and I'm trying to like go back up, and I'm like, I didn't know you can go down. Like that was very frightening to me. And then so after that, I remember during the time he was at Stargate, they sent him, on weekend retreats to the Monroe Institute to see if he can leave his body and to see if that would be more conducive for a more accurate remote viewing session. And so he would do this over the weekends, right from Fort Meade and go there. And I remember him telling me about this, and this is before I, had an experience. And I thought, what is this guy talking about? Like he's
How could you leave your body?
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, this is weird. Like I was buying everything else until now, and I'm like, this guy's a little weird. Maybe a dream he's having, and he's misinterpreting a dream or something, right? And so then when I had this experience, immediately I go, that's what Joe was talking about. Oh, do you want to turn it down? Like, to you, I think you're here. Does this make it better or worse?
Yeah, that's fine. No,
Okay.
I really want to hear your words, but
Yeah.
intense.
So then I was like, that's what he was talking about. That's the out of body state. And I was like, oh my God. So I buy Robert Monroe's book. I read through a few of his books, go online. Everybody's having the same symptoms as I had. And I was like, this is objectively not a dream. Like, I know this because I didn't know anything about this. It wasn't like it was my subconscious being like, hey, this is, I didn't know what an out of body was. And I had the same experience he was describing. And so that's where I signed up for the Monroe Institute. I documented my gateway process. I made a little documentary about that. And then every day when I came back from that, every day for like 3.5 months, I meditated for an hour every morning around 4:30, like it was super early in the morning. And then after about 3 months, I started having regular out-of-body experiences.
And did you want that?
I was trying to actively have it.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, I wanted.
You wanted to face this fear and.
Yeah, well, I just want to know if this was a thing.
Yeah.
You know, because I had it happen to me, and then it started happening where I would go into vivid dreams or lucid dreaming, and I would roll out of the lucid dream out of my body. But again, it's like happening in this nebulous sort of time at night where I'm like, am I asleep? Is this a dream? Until one morning at 5 in the morning, the sun's blazing and I have the curtains in my room and I meditate for an hour. And I put the headphones down. And as soon as my head hit the pillow, I felt the thrumming, the vibration. I was like, oh, it's happening. Oh my God. And I just get out of my life. And I was losing into the time and I was super excited. And I get up and I walk around and I see that voice, which scared me. And so I look and I go right back in my body. But that short 30 seconds happened during a lucid awake state, sunshine in my room, and I didn't fall asleep. So, and that was the last time. I was like, all right, got my confirmation.
How long ago was that?
That was, it happened, I guess, maybe not last year, the year before. Yeah, 2 years ago.
Do you think, okay, I don't know why I asked that, but do you think that you just wanted confirmation? Or do you think you were practicing something? There's a part of me that thinks you, I mean, you seem very familiar to me. And there's a part of me that thinks you were probably in one of those programs, kind of like I was, especially because your dad was in the military.
I don't know.
Do you have any memory of that?
I remember mouthwash. Like, that was a regular thing. Like, the pink liquid with the mouthwash.
But would you spit it out?
You spit it out.
Yeah, that's what. Like,
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
liquid,
That,
it was like-
yeah, exactly. It wasn't viscous. It wasn't okay. Other than that, it's hard to, I don't remember anything strange in my childhood, but, yeah, I did like tennis when I was a kid, so
Yeah.
bumped around quite a bit.
Yeah.
And my dad was, wasn't like an officer, so it wasn't like
Oh, okay.
we were like Air Force or anything, he was infantry.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't remember anything like that. Yeah, and yeah,
Because you were so good, I mean, it just happened spontaneously.
it happened spontaneously. I think it was kind of a perfect storm when it happened. But then when I tried it, it took like 3 months. And multiple people I talked to at a convention, same convention I met you at, I was with like 3 other people. We were having this discussion, and I told my story, and all 3 of the other people said, for them, it also happened at about 3.5 months into meditating every day.
Yeah.
So that seemed to be like the common denominator between us 4, where it's like, oh, okay, it takes, I guess, that much time to achieve like this kundalini or this like experience.
Yeah.
So it was really enlightening,
Yeah.
and for me, I don't seek it anymore. Not because I'm afraid of it, but there was this sentiment of, okay, this seems to be like what happens to you when you die. This seems to be the phenomenon that people describe when they perhaps. But I also felt like, okay, this is what happens to you when you die. And this might not be the afterlife, it might just be transitional medicine. And what's the hurry?
Yeah. Exactly. People have the hardest time staying in their bodies.
Yeah.
And
I was like, I got it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, did that come?
Yeah, exactly.
I guarantee you I'm gonna have an out of body again.
I think that's really helpful. But I also think Joe didn't feel like going out of body helps him very much.
Hmm.
What's your memory of that?
He did say that he had one session. I spoke to Ed May about this as well, Dr. Ed May, and he said he had one session where there was a, get out of your body, go into the other. They started with the ping pong balls and the Gansfield sort of effect to like stimulate this out of body state. And then they said, get out of your body, walk into the other room, and the envelope is a picture, go look at the picture and tell me what's on the picture.
Right.
And he did that, but he couldn't physically interact with the envelope because he was out of his body.
Yeah.
And so he just tried to like project where he would be where that photo was taken.
Yeah.
And he drew it, and it was like a 1-for-1.
Yeah. But he was able to do that anyway because of going out of body, so it's a little tricky.
Yeah, he was really
Yeah.
good at it.
Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, I digress. I didn't want to
But
make this about me.
no, but it is. I mean, this, and I think part of it is like the reason I had that dream was that it brings this up, is that there is this fear of, there's this idea of sovereignty. That's one of the things we were talking about at that conference.
Yeah.
Back in the Desert panel. And there's this idea of like, well, even if there are NHIs, there's aliens, how can we be sovereign over our own life? And awareness, or meta-awareness in the midst of ourselves that, holy shit, that's not a real thing.
Hmm.
Like, where do your ideas come from anyway? They don't come from your ego.
Yeah.
Your ego is just a claimer that claims, like, look what I did.
Yeah.
That's all it's
And nothing is invented.
No. Yeah.
Everything's discovered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even inside yourself. And so, the idea of sovereignty, like, there's a little concern in this ontological shock that people will worry about ontological shock. That will discover that, you know, aliens are doing mind control. It's like, it kind of doesn't matter whether it's aliens or if you're subconscious, you still don't have any control over it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you have the illusion of control or the semblance of control that you're trying to hold on to.
Yeah, and I think that that's part of why that dream matters to me, is because that's all operating in me too. I mean, I can say that intellectually, like, oh, it's an illusion of control and stuff, but like, it pisses me off that perhaps people had me do things that were really cool, kind of in a certain way, like feats of interesting import and nature, but that I don't get to know
You're robbed of the experience.
in a certain sense.
Yeah. What do you make of that? Because I'm curious to hear your thoughts as well about where you touched on information there for a second, and in your book you speak about this as well as, like, you know, information, you know, rides on light travel and that type of thing, but it doesn't have to, but it can, but it exists sort of, I guess, omnipresently, all around us, and we all have access to that in space and time. I do believe that as well. I think that that's a sound assessment. You know, I always use the example of if this Earth just disappeared, another one were to appear. Stories around mythology,
How foundational is that? It must be, you know, before space and time.
yeah.
Right, it's this idea of this informational substrate. If you want to think about it as like a bunch of ones and zeros that aren't being manifested on a page or on a computer. They're just present at once. One zero. And then what we could be and so, if that is the case, then what is the mind? Where does the mind go? Is the mind in physicality? No. You can't point to the mind. It has no mind. It doesn't behave like a physical thing. It's not in a place. It's not really in a time. You can shift your mind around all over the time. So the psychological sort of sense of time, or the sense of events in time, doesn't live in the physical world. That's the mind. And so that mind really lives in this information space. Mind really is almost equivalent with this information space. So, should we be surprised when things happen in your mind where you have an intention, or even subconsciously you have an intention and something just shows up, some miracle occurs, or like in your magic, right? Something just comes together. Should we be surprised? Probably not.
Right, because the mind is constantly living in that impossibility.
It is of that.
Yeah.
It is of that information.
It's just kind of leaking into the physical versus the
The
opposite.
opposite, right, exactly. The physical, the brain is sort of this byproduct of the mind. That's how it shows up in
Yeah.
us.
Yes.
You know, in a bug, it shows up in a dog. So, also, should we be surprised that people like autistic non-speakers who haven't been able to express themselves through speech start to learn to access the information directly without having to hear it from someone else. They should be surprised by that. I think all these things are sort of going to be reframed in this decade, where we're going to start recognizing, because of this error where we decided we wanted it to be physical. But anyway, I brought it here too. But because of this error, we become surprised by these things we're getting. In fact, it's like the essential nature of how everything is working. So, I don't know how we start doing that.
I mean, I love it. Whereas, so I'm really interested in getting so many questions, so many new questions. Like, is there a possible
But problem. What's problem? It's hard. Like this is like.
okay, like dialing back
I
the
know
access.
I'll be like one of the two right now.
No,
I feel embarrassed now.
I don't know much about cars, and
But what does it mean?
just the dialing back of access to the substrate is clearly present. Like
Yes.
we're clearly being gatekept from having access to a certain extent.
And when you say clearly, I want to provide some evidence for that. Like, so it's not just the opinion.
I can't actively use my mind to peer into the future and past at will. You know, well, perhaps I can, but I just don't know how. But it feels like if we look throughout history, humankind has not been able to do that in a way that is repeatable or at all like measurable. So there has to be a benefit to us not being able to do that. What is that
Right.
benefit?
Got it. Filter theory of consciousness, right? There's this idea that the brain actually acts as a filter and a reducing valve,
Right.
so that you just get way less of an information out there because you can't handle it. You can't handle the truth.
Yes,
So
exactly.
you get this picture of the truth, and then we develop all sorts of theories based on this picture. Wrong, but nonetheless helpful. So yeah, it's like Donald Hoffman type stuff, perceptual interface, cognition, or perception. So what benefit is there? If you want to make individual creatures, like if the universe, I don't know, feels like some people don't want this. If there are going to be individual creatures that have different dispositions and solve things in different ways, which is actually very beneficial to a species to have widely divergent minds.
The data collection as well.
Yeah, and data collection, if you want to see each individual as like an observer who's kind of centered up the mothership, like, if you want that, then you better not know that you could just get all that information all at once
Yeah.
in 1 second,
Right.
and then all the information can be shared, because why have more than one person?
So this point, a creator.
I mean, I'm gonna go down this road, I think it does, because it's like, why, it's like this idea, sort of a mystical idea that the creator wanted to know, its own creation. And so the creator
It incarnates into.
it incarnates into all these separate beings, and it wants to know its own unity. But the only way to really know its own unity is by feeling separate, truly feeling separate, and not having access to the unity, and then it can learn the unity, and that's much more valuable than just knowing I'm one,
Mm-hmm.
because then you haven't really learned it, right? So it's a really beautiful story, and
Makes sense.
it's a story that makes sense. It's very compelling, and then when if you want to ask, is it real? Is it correct? Can any story like that be correct? I mean, what does it even mean to be correct when you're talking about a mystical story? So it's sort of, to me, by default correct because it's so compelling, and it helps lead people, at least it helps me, go towards the good. It makes me feel like there's a reason, and there's meaning. It helps my relationship with God. So I say it's correct, because what is correctness when I'm testing it? So what is correctness when it comes to these deep mystical ideas? I think that what correctness is that which leads you towards the good.
Just something that was just
Or full of love.
Yeah. But then you would, simultaneously need the other half to even even experience love, right?
Which other half?
I mean, the
Well,
love
not you.
well, no, the part of the universe that is that seems to be the opposite of love. You know, you would need that as well in contrast to even create it when you.
Yeah, no. So there's conditional love. That would be more like that contrasting thing, and there's unconditional divine and there's no downside to that.
Hmm.
So there's no shadow there. That's like, so that is truly in this cosmology, underneath the information substrate is the one true substance of which the universe is created, which is love,
Okay.
which is really that which connects. And so ones and zeros but in my studies, what I can test is the idea of, okay, there is this foundation of love. And if people can experience unconditional love, I know it's a human experience, it doesn't happen all the time, but when people are experiencing unconditional love, if there's like a kind of a sense of that if you're experiencing unconditional love, you're basically accessing this foundational, you're aware that this foundational piece exists. You're kind of always accessing it because it's foundational in everything. But you're aware of that access. And when you're aware of that access, that can allow you to access this informational substrate that's growing out of the love.
Hmm.
So imagine the love are like the roots, right? The love is like the roots, and then the little bushes are the informational substrate, right? The ones and zeros are like yellow bush, green bush, or whatever. And then the fruit from that is space and time and matter and energy. So the fruit that grows on those trees. So if you can access, if you can be aware of your access of that unconditional love, you're at the very base. So you have now access to the whole system. So the idea that I tested was, if people are feeling unconditional love, are they better at accessing that information? Can they go into the informational substrate and predict the future, for instance, which is in there as much as the past, right? So I tested that first, by mistake, by doing the third thing. A higher level of unconditional love, which was part of the experiment for another reason. We're also significantly better at precognitive remote viewing.
How significant?
I forget what the p-value was, but we only had 36 people, so it was significant enough that for 36 people you saw it.
Wow.
Then I did it with online. That was an in-person experiment. Then I did it online with 305 people, and you could still see that difference. So, in other words, people who didn't feel the high levels of unconditional love were just a chance. People who did were significantly above chance and significantly better than the people who didn't feel that love.
Wow.
So, if you want to do precognitive remote viewing, there's probably other things that can help. Binaural beats, maybe even need. I think need is really important.